Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me. We have another attendee. Hello, Isabel. Um, Thank you guys for joining me today. Glad that you were able to make it out to Kineo office hours. So, quick little introduction for those of you who may not know me. Steve is probably getting tired of seeing this, but I do want to introduce myself to some of the new faces in the room. My name is Taylor Craig. I am the Learning Platform Specialist here at Kineo, and my job involves training Totara. That is what I'm here to do, training all things Totara, and then also working with new potential onboarding clients and existing clients. So I do all those fun things here at Kineo US. Let's talk a little bit about office hours, what they are, how they work, why we even do these. So they are available only to our clients. So we only allow our clients the ability to access the 45-minute Q&A session. So we do 15 minutes of a feature presentation, 45 minutes Q&A. The 15-minute presentation we do throw up there on YouTube for anybody to see. And then we also provide that back to you guys in all of those emails that we send out so that you can access those at any time. But being a client, you get access to the full recording as well. So when we have some really good questions, and we typically do during that 45-minute session, that's what you get access to. And those can be really valuable and work with you. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask those during that 45-minute period. No question is too big or too small. If I don't know the answer to it, I bet you I know somebody who does, and I can track them down and drive them crazy until they give me the answer, or I can look it up or whatever, but I can find you the answer, and I'll open a case with you and work with you there. So today we're going to be talking about reports, and primarily we're talking about the Content tab and the Access tab. So since you guys have probably been working with Totara some, I know a few of you definitely have been pretty regularly. You've probably seen that Content tab and you've probably seen that Access tab. And they can be a little bit confusing, but I'm going to kind of show you how to play around to get the report that you want and get what it is that you're really after when working with those reports. For good documentation on this, you can go to help.totaralms.com and then look for that area that says Build a New Report. That is where you're going to find all of your information on the Content tab and the Access tab. In fact, actually, that page gives you all of the information on all of the tabs when you're building a report. So you might find that helpful just to kind of go through that, read through that. It'll give you some good insight as far as what those different tabs do and why they're even there. All right, so a little bit about the Content tab here. So the Content tab allows you to restrict report content based on the user who is running the report. Okay, so that makes sense. Content tab controls content. This allows administrators to pre-filter the report so that one report can be run by many users, okay? So you have one report. That's the beauty of Totara, is you have the ability to have one report, but learners can access it and only see what they're supposed to see. Staff managers can access it and only see what they're supposed to see. Higher ranking people can access it and only see what they're supposed to see. So that's what that gives you the ability to do. So it controls the content that you see in the report. So that is something that when I was kind of learning these, it took me a minute to wrap my mind around it. But if you can think about it that way, that helps. You've got your Access tab as well. So this is going to control who can actually view the report. So who are we giving access to see that report? Okay, and then not what it's going to contain. But you can use these two tabs in tandem with one another so that you know who can see it and what they can see. Okay, so that's going to be one of the really cool features of those two tabs and how they work. So let's see it in action. Very short slideshow today, but we're going to actually take a look at what it really looks like from an administrator's point of view. We're going to look at it from a learner's point of view. We're going to look at it from a staff manager's point of view, and we're going to kind of play around with it and see how that works. So I'm going to pull this over here. So I'm going to go in as an administrator. So to access reports, in case you don't know, if you haven't really gotten to that point on your site of utilizing reports, you would go to your site administration, reports, reports builder, and then I'm going to go to manage reports. What I have done is I've actually already set up a particular report for today's presentation, and it should be called Office Hours Report. There it is, Report for Office Hours. And the source report that I'm using is just your basic standard course completion report. So really all I did, guys, just so you know, I named it what I wanted to name it so that I could find it again. And then I came in here and said course completion, and I made no changes to that particular report as far as what it looks like and what content it's pulling through, because I want you to see kind of the whole full big picture of everything. Your course completion report is going to be a really standard report that you see people use a lot of times. So I'm going to right click, open in a new tab to view it. You don't have to view them that way. It's just how I prefer to view them, so that if I'm not quite seeing exactly what I want to see, I can switch back and make changes quickly and then just refresh this tab. It's kind of a helpful way of navigating the reports, especially when you're building those reports and creating them. Okay, so looking at this from an administrator's point of view, let's just kind of get an idea of what we see here. We see 60 records shown. Now, I know that I have like 500 users on my site, but I'm only seeing 60 records. The reason I'm only seeing 60 records is because only 60 people have actually done something on this site. So that would be the reason why I'm seeing such a low number. But I wanted to point that out because we're about to see those numbers change based on who we're looking at it as. Okay, so we have all of these different individuals in here. We see their position, we see their status, we see that Aaron is in progress. Michael Adams hasn't quite yet started, but he's clicked on it, so that's why he's showing up. And then we have our Gary Fisher. He is completed. So we're seeing all of these different people and their particular status, the organization they're a part of. We're seeing all of that good stuff. Okay, and I'm looking at this as a site administrator. So let's take a look quickly as Gary. So Gary is a frontline associate. We saw that from the report that we were just looking at. So here he is, Gary, his position. He's a frontline associate. So if you're not already aware, the way our site is structured is it is based on a fast food chain. So we have it set up where our organizational structure is all the way from your corporate people all the way down to the people who help you at the front desk and who need training on how to work all the different cooking mechanisms in the kitchens, right? So Gary is one of those people. He works in the stores. So we're seeing this. Now let's look at that report as Gary. So Gary does see the My Reports tab. But you're going to notice he doesn't see as many reports as I saw as an administrator. And there was a reason I was seeing as many reports as I was as an admin, is because I needed, as an admin, you see everything. But because of the content and access tabs, Gary's not seeing as much. So report for office hours, if we click on it, he also sees 60 records at this time. So the reason he sees 60 records at this time is because we haven't really changed anything with that content or access tab. And let's take a look as Gary's manager, George Black. So we're going to go to the same thing. We're going to look at the reports. He sees a few more reports. And he is also seeing 60 records shown. So let's dive in as a site administrator, make some tweaks and changes to those different tabs, and see how it changes for our different individuals. So I'm going to go back over here, report for office hours, and I'm going to click on the gear. These are the two tabs that we're concerned about today. You do have the ability to change the different columns that you see. You can put in a graph. We do actually have out there on our YouTube channel a quick demo that we did. I think it's like 30 minutes long over graphical reports. If that's something that you're interested in seeing, let me know. And I'd be glad to push that out to you. And I'm sure we'll probably touch back on it sometime during office hours one of these days for sure. Filters, that's going to be what they can do to move things around, what they can search for. Okay, so now we've got our content and access tab. So let's look at our content tab. So again, this is going to control what they see in the report. So we've got our content controls, show all records. So that's why everybody's seeing everything. They're seeing all of the information that's there. So if we say show records matching any of the criteria below, these boxes become checkable. But I want to say show matching all of the criteria below. Because what that's going to do is if I have multiple of these boxes checked, I have to meet all of that criteria before I'm able to see the report or the content in the report. Okay, but I'm just going to do show records from staff in the user's position. Okay, so we talked about what position Gary was in. Gary was a frontline associate. So we can say just staff in the user's position, or we could say just staff below the user's position. If we said just staff below the user's position, Gary wouldn't see anybody because Gary is at the lowest level in our positional structure. So there's no one below him to see. But we could do staff at or below his position. So we could set that one up, and then he would see his peers, and then if there was anyone below him, he would see this. This might be more handy for his manager, where the manager can see what's going on with his peers and then the people below him, so the people at Gary's level as well. So let's take a look at what happens if we switch this to just staff in the user's position. You also can do this by organization. You can do by organization when complete. You can do it by a particular user. So you can do, this is pretty common that we see used, show by the user, and you say by user's direct reports, or their indirect reports, or any of their temporary reports. So you've got these options as well, and these are pretty commonly used. Show by completion date, so you can do this within the past 30 days, however you'd like to do that. So I'm going to change these settings. And what we'll do, we'll go over here to Gary, and I'm going to refresh the screen. You see that dropped drastically. So it dropped down to 25 records shown. So now he's only seeing people who are frontline associates. He's no longer seeing those people who are ranking a bit higher than him. He's no longer seeing those individuals. Now, you may ask, why in the world would I want someone who's a learner on my site, why in the world would I want them to see what other learners are doing? And so, because, man, that may be private information, right? We're actually working with a client right now who is really competitive, and they are wanting to keep their employees competing with one another, and so they're going to be using a report quite similar to this one, and the fact that they want Gary Fisher to be seeing what Anthony Turner is doing and seeing that Anthony may be doing more than him. Okay, so they're kind of using it almost as a leaderboard. So that might be one option as well. So we have Gary and Anthony. He's only seeing his peers. Now you're going to notice he's seeing them at all different stores. So he's at the Rhodes Road store, but he's seeing Louetta, Creekleaf, Rice Boulevard. He's seeing all of the stores where anybody has any completions. Okay, so I'm going to jump back over here. I'm going to reset this back to what we had it at, to show all records. Okay. And let's take a look at the Access tab real quick. So we've reset content to show all records. So if we go back to Gary and refresh, he should again see 60 people. And he does. So he sees 60 records again. Now I'm back as an admin, so let's take a look at the Access tab a little closer. So right now we have it set to all users can view this report. So that's part of the reason why Gary is able to see it, is because we have it set for all users being able to see it. But we can set this to only certain users can view the report. And if we do that, we can choose any of these different roles that are on our site. So if we chose learner, Gary would still see it. But we're not going to choose learner. We're going to choose staff manager. And we're going to save our changes. Now let's try to take a look at this as Gary. If I refresh the screen, I think it should give me an error. Yeah, you do not have permission to view this page. And if he goes to the My Reports tab, he no longer sees it listed. So that Access tab immediately took that report away from him. But let's look at it as his manager. So if we go in as his manager, go to the My Reports tab, he still sees it, reports for office hours, and he's still able to see all 60 records. So he's still seeing the whole thing. And all other staff managers on the site would still see all 60 records there as well. Now let's take a look at how we can make those two tabs work together. Okay, so let's see here. We're going to go back in as an admin. We're going to leave our Access tab as it is. We're going to leave it set where staff managers can see it. And then we're going to go back into our Content tab. And we're going to control what content they see. So we're going to say they need to match all the criteria below. And we can say show records from staff and users organization. And we'll say just staff and the users organization. That's what we're going to leave it set to. Okay, and save changes. We're going to go back in as the staff manager, which is George. We've got 60 records, and right now we're seeing all different kinds of stuff. So if we refresh, it narrowed that down to 7 records. Okay, so it narrowed it just to his store, which is the Rhodes Road store. And so he is just seeing his people at his store, and that's all he's seeing. And if I logged in as, I think Nicole Harris is another one of my staff managers on this site, if I logged in as her, I would just see the people at my organization. Okay, in my store. So, and it's using one report. So that is one of the really powerful things that you have in Totara by using the Content and Access tabs. You can use those two tabs together to use one report to allow certain individuals to only see what they need to see. Okay, so that is your Content and Access tabs in a nutshell. Let's turn it over to you guys for questions.